live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program mega worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
It's Saturday, and it's Johnny Million. How are you, Johnny?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you doing now?
I'm all right. Did you go for a run this morning? Did you in the snow with the? Is it snowing there? It's rough, right?
It's like snow globing. You know, it's just like all floating around.
Oh,
that's right.
That's just holiday snow,
which I hate.
Oh yes, right. That's the one where the end of your nose is screaming like this, like I understand what cold is, but that's a biting kind of thing. It's like a little cold demon nipping at your nose.
I ran yesterday and instantly regretted it. As soon as I stepped outside of the door for my 4-mile run, I was like, okay, It's 3 miles.
Hey, forget it. We, obviously I'm in Vegas right now. After I finish the show, I hop in my car, drive to LA to do the unpresidential debate with Frangela, Eliza Skinner, and myself, and then Chris Bono, my dear friend Chris Bono, our old friend Chris Bono, is moderating it because they couldn't find anyone who knew less about politics, and it's going to be great. I honestly think that's the choice point. I think honestly that's the choice point, and I think it's genius, so that we can all kind of explain it for people who aren't in the bubble, right? I think that's actually a great idea. We should pick, and by the way, God bless Jay Leno as he heals from his exploding classic car. I wish that burns on friggin' anybody. Oh my God. No, he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay, but it's going to take some time. He's not, it wasn't life threatening. He wasn't he's not going to lose his eye or anything like that. They were talking about he had to have some minor skin grafts, which is a lot. It's a big deal, but he'll be fine. Bless his heart. But remember when he used to go around, and Kimmel does this too, it's kind of been a regular gag for a long time, where you basically ask man on the street people political questions and laugh at how shockingly ignorant they are. Right? Oh, yes. You've seen many of those. I think that's who should do the debates. I think the moderators of debates should be the winner of the stupidest person in the man on the street competition. They should go out and... You know what I mean? Now, you can't tell people or they'll try, but just offer it to them after. And then either person can't just speak to their base because they'll completely confuse the moderator with jargon. It's a theory, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah. I don't know where I got that idea, but I love it. That said, let me see if I can. I don't know why, Johnny, your moniker is not showing up on screen for some. Oh, there it is. I think I figured it out. I'll figure it out because
as long as Twitter lasts, I'm actually on Twitter.
We've only got a little bit left now. Obviously,
I found you on Mastodon, by the way.
Oh, excellent. Yes, I am at Hal Sparks at mastodon.world.
Yeah, and I'm Johnny Million at mastodon.world.
Excellent. It's a good server and not at all stuck up. And for those of you that don't understand how Mastodon and those kind of things work, real quick, unlike Twitter, which is its own gated community, or Facebook, which is its own Elysium, it doesn't take up space on Earth, but it is its own locked environment. Mastodon operates on zip codes or area codes. You're still available to everybody else. You can call somebody from one area code to another area code. You can have them in your connections, in your contacts, and all that kind of stuff. They just house their
Jesus Christ
account. What did Hal Vickery do just now? I can't see it yet.
He double downing because his vertigo kept him in the hospital last week.
Oh dear.
And then he's flying, and so he won't be around. Thank you so much, Hal. Vertigo sounds like a living nightmare to me.
Yeah, it is not fun. My dad had it really bad after his hunting accident.
What was his hunting accident?
You don't know this story?
I don't think so. How old were we?
It wasn't too long ago. It was about 15 years ago. He was hunting in the snow, and they were going up a hill, and like the terrain was a little wonky, and he slipped and put his hand out to his side, and the snow was way deeper than he thought, and a twig went into his ear and punctured his eardrum, like something out of the end of Star Wars.
No.
Yep. And so he had to have
One in a
surgery on
shot, Doc.
Yep, and he has a hearing aid on that ear now because of it.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, he's had one for a long time. And
I'm glad
it's
you waited
because
15 years to tell me.
Yeah, well, I thought it might shock and upset you.
Yeah.
And normally I tell you all shocking and upsetting things immediately because I like to watch your face.
Gate.
But we weren't hanging out as much back then.
All the time.
Yeah, but we weren't hanging out as much back then. That was that was during.
We were not.
Nope, that was during the dark times. That was the time. That was BJM before Johnny Million. That sounded weird when I did the letters.
That sounded weird and kind of nice
and kind of naughty. Like perfect for Christmas. All right, let's get on with the show. By the way, we've got a radio show happening.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. By the way, hi chat room. Hi everybody who's out there. Philip Ittner will indeed be joining us for the second hour. He's in Kiev. Lots going on there. Holy smokes. A gas refinery in St. Petersburg. By the way, one of the ones that would be responsible for venting gas out of the Nord Stream pipelines.
Where is your sound effect?
Oh. It was there it is. So one of the places that would be responsible for that, where all the technically capable people have been scooped up and sent to war for no reason. That's one of the sites where if they wanted to get all the backed up gas out of there, they would have to have technicians there that could make sure they could do it without the place exploding. Yeah, those people are all gone, and it exploded. There's a giant pipeline. I'm not going to say gas again. Quit it, Johnny. That he did that himself. Radio Land.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Excuse yourself, then, Johnny.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, he doesn't have to. He's doing this from home. He just has to apologize to the cat and move on. Now, and we all thought she was.
I've grossed her out in the past. Or she's just been like, yeah, I know I'm an animal, but come on, dude.
Right. Yeah. I bury my poop that it's built into my genes.
Right.
Get a dog if you want that kind of nonsense. We'll have a lot to talk about in the second hour, no doubt. The big story breaking this morning, besides the boring blatherfest that Donald Trump unleashed on guests at Mar-a-Lago last night, where he was like clamoring that he will not partake. I will not partake in this witch hunt against me. I'm 6 years. It's been going on. It's unfair. Life is unfair. I was born on third base. That means I hit a triple in the womb. Therefore, this stuff is supposed to happen to poor people, not me. Turn those machines back on. We built this exchange. All right. Besides that, which we can cover, but God knows, I covered it yesterday on my live stream if people want to go watch.
I actually commented on that. I tried to listen to the rebroadcast of it. I was like, oh my God. I asked in the comments if you made it all the way through.
I did. I always do. Because I will not be accused of taking him out of context. He always takes stuff people always take things out of context. They take the one thing he says wrong, and then everything else is genius and pure and good and smart and too clever, and they don't want you to know how it's great ideas. So they just cut this little part out where he said, and then they air that over and over again, and it's like the whole thing was like that. And like, no, I watched the whole thing. The whole thing was like that.
After all.
Yeah, indeed. So the big story is that in the New York Times this morning, former anti-abortion leader alleges another Supreme Court breach. So it turns out that in 2014 on the Hobby Lobby decision, which is about birth control in insurance provided, because it was like one of the anti-ACA cases that they were putting forward. And the the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Hobby Lobby, that apparently that decision was leaked at dinner with a couple of right-wing, anti-choice activists who apparently always have like box seats for all of the religiously based arguments in the Alito and Scalia courts. Like they sit up there like the old Muppets and go, ah! And apparently they get, yes, and they get to, I guess, have dinner with Alito and others afterwards and go, oh, okay, how do we fix this? How do we, obviously because of the darn Constitution, you couldn't make it the way we wanted it. So how do we fix that for you next time? Well, if you want to send a case up to us, it'd have to look like this and it'll get by everybody. And that's basically how it worked. Like they're basically that you know how there was a spy, since we're doing a Star Wars reference, and we'll loop it back to that. You know how there was a spy that apparently leaked the plans to the Death Star that eventually were gotten by the Rogue One crew that got to Leia and all that kind of stuff. Apparently the person with the inside scoop, in this case the Death Star, is everyone's rights. It's a weird analogy, but work with me. The one who leaked the story about the vent port was indeed someone up in the Scalia and Alito camps. And in this particular case, and we'll talk about it on the other side, this is a former anti-choice activist who's had a return to real Jesus moment, leave Orange Jesus, come back to real Jesus. And this lovely family, ironically called the Wrights. We're going to come back after this break. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. We'll be back.
Back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. So I guess it's no surprise that the story about like when the Dodd decision was leaked, there was a little bit of like, oh, how dare they? And this assumption that it had to be one of the liberal justices. It had to be somebody clerking from one of the liberal justices because they were going to try and pressure the Alito, Thomas, Amy Coney Barrett cabal that they have there, to borrow their word, into changing their mind before June came around, which was never going to happen. So that was a flat out absurdity. And the idea that they would that somehow threats upon their life even would change this part of it, especially considering how these are what they believe is like a biblical mission in their life. Not that I think they're honest about it.
It's their end game.
Yes, and it's the story for their whole family. It will set them up with a certain swath of humans in this country forever. They will always be known. It's a great way to pad your kids' nest, feather your kids' nest and your grandkids' nest and your great-grandkids' nest. So apparently there was a couple, I want to say Don and Gloria Wright. The ironic aspect that their names are Wright when they seek to take others away is pretty hilarious. But this guy, Schenck, who they interviewed for this piece, used to be one of these activists. And he was the guy who basically hooked them up with Antonin Scalia and Justice Alito. And they became, dinner guest friends, to the point where, and this is from the New York Times article, when the Hobby Lobby case was argued before the Supreme Court in March 2014. Hold on, let me put this up here. Seats in the courtroom were reserved for guests of Justices Scalia and Alito. We were invited to use seats from Nino and Sam, she had written to Mr. Schenck days earlier, using nicknames for the justices. Wow. This woman called Antonin Scalia Nino. That's a little cozy, I would say, for a SCOTUS. I at the very least, if you're going to write sketchy, hey, I've got the inside scoop emails about how close they are, you could go, we invited you seats from Justices Alito and and Scalia, and this is quite exciting. You know, like at least use their full names. I guess people were new to email in their minds. Okay. In the interview, Mrs. Wright said she used such seats all the time because Nino and my husband were very good friends. She was eager to hear the Hobby Lobby arguments she had because she had an interest in, quote, all cases related to biblical issues. Her ties were the result, in part, of years of effort by Mr. Schenck. There's a little lovely picture out of Don and Gail Wright from Centerville, Ohio. And they've got this Operation Save Our Nation thing that they were a part of. Our mission, to bring the word of God to bear on the hearts and minds of those who make public policy in America. Now, that's a very distinct choice piece of language, to bear on them, meaning we're going to put the fear of the godly, if not God, on these people. Now, I'm going to take a moment to center Johnny Million because...
Oh, did I move? No, it's because of the article.
No, it's because of the article. I moved you. It's not your fault. You've done nothing wrong. I don't want you... There you go. That's better. Don't worry. Go back to what you were doing because I don't want you to feel bad. Yes, you do. Anyways, the fascinating part to me is how casual this whole thing reads. This is the scariest part of it, is just how, like, they were just shrugging off conversation. Like, you and I, honestly, I really can't imagine having gone to law school with somebody who's now a Supreme Court judge or something like that. Like, that seems absurd. But at the same time, even if I'd known them all during school, once they were on the Supreme Court, like even a president, I might call by their first name or a nickname because there's a certain element of like on the level with a president, even still with the office. You like respect the office, but you still have your friend. With the Supreme Court, it's a little different because their deference, any deference can be read as favoritism. Okay. This is Schenck, the story about Schenck. He had long been an ends justify the means anti-abortion provocateur. During the 92 Democratic Convention, he plotted a stunt to accost former future President Bill Clinton with an aborted fetus in a container. He was repeatedly jailed for blocking access to abortion clinics. He helped pay Norma McGorvey, the Jane Roe of the 73 ruling establishing abortion rights, for speaking appearances, later opposing the decision. She later said she had been paid to lie. But no matter how much attention those tactics yielded, Roe v. Wade, one of the most consequential decisions in the past half century, stood in the way of efforts to end the right to an abortion. Historically, the court does not like to get too far out ahead of public opinion, and justices do not lightly overturn long-standing precedents. So in 2000, Mr. Schenck launched Operation Higher Court, an attempt to reach the justices directly. Not at all. Yeah. And this is like, they go back into his story. But the story is in many ways about the rights, this couple, because through this, okay, here we go. He encouraged his donors to become patrons of the court's historical society. Four of them, including the Wrights, became trustees, giving at least an estimated $125,000, records show. That helped him draw close to the society's executive director, David Pride. By the way, this whole article reads like the Lawrence Fishburne storyline in Deep Cover. Like buying drugs to work your way up. Yeah, to work your way up to the big boss. Like it's crazy. It's like because it's so mercenary. You know what I mean? It's not like, wow, I found myself because we care about the same things. He set himself on a mission that was further down the road than the people he was trying to get close to manipulate them. That helped him draw close to the society's executive director, David Pride. In September 2011, Mr. Pride took Mr. Green of Hobby Lobby to the Chief Justice's annual Christmas party. What? At Mr. Schenck's request. In an email, Mr. Schenck described Mr. Green's parents, already Faith and Action donors, as potential big givers to the society. Family is worth about $3 billion. Mr. Pride responded, saying he would escort Mr. Green into the party. He added, by any appendage he would like. He added he would, I'm kidding. He should consult about what you might like me to promote on your behalf to Mr. Green. Do you have a particular project or the like that you'd like me to talk up? Or should I just extol your many virtues to him? few months later, Hobby Lobby owners began discussing about joining efforts to overturn the Affordable Care Act's contraceptive mandate. Pride now retired, says he was happy to help Schenck do some fundraising with the Greens. Ultimately, what happened and how this rolled out was that the rights ended up at a breakfast or a lunch with Alito, and then while they deny directly being the ones that carry this, all of a sudden, emails started blowing up between them and other people that the Hobby Lobby decision was going to come down on the side of Hobby Lobby against the ACA and against the contraceptive mandate. Which, again, considering Thomas has kind of picked up Scalia's scraps around as far as his connections in the justices with these particular groups, because he was always kind of in tow behind Scalia. It was a very strange relationship they had. He almost said nothing the entire time Scalia was alive, and in terms of documented stuff. He basically he got all these connections once they were gone, and this may go a long way towards explaining, Ginny Thomas's descent into madness. We didn't hear much about her, so she might have always been crazy, but especially now, it makes sense that she's basically surrounded by these kind of sycophant religious right, win at all cost, anti-choice, anti-freedom and anti-gay rights groups. So, this is so weird. Don and I have been invited to a private party in Virginia to celebrate Nino's 80th, she wrote to him in January 2016 email referring to Justice Scalia. Lunch with CT on Monday, Sam on Wednesday, dinner at court on Monday, dinner with Maureen on Wednesday. These are both justices and people that work for them. She wrote in another email, Mr. Schenck understood CT and Sam to be Justices Thomas and Alito. She referred to them by their first names in other emails. Scalia's widow is named Maureen. Alito appeared to know Ms. Wright's views well enough to recommend she attend a lecture at the court by Kelly Shackelford, the president of the First Liberty Institute. This whole thing is how they've grown over time a lock on how this court will rule for a generation if somebody doesn't end up stepping down in the next couple of years, which, by the way, they very well may. We're not, some of these folks are getting a little long in the tooth. I think they're all looking to Ruth Bader Ginsburg as their symbol of hanging on. But some of them might want to enjoy a bit of the good life that even if their stuff gets overturned by, stepping down and parading around free of what little limitations there seem to be on their behavior while in the court. That's a slim chance, but a possibility. That said, I would like to remind everyone of this entire thing, and I would recommend everybody read this article in the New York Times. And I tweeted it out if Twitter still exists. We have to check moment by moment. I tweeted it out. It's worth a read because it's as shocking as unshocking as it is. And I would like to remind everyone that this indeed is your inspiration every single time the presidency comes around, and the Senate for that matter. Anytime, the control of the Senate or the ability to run the Senate even smoothly without interference from people comes around, this is the story I want people to think of. Not, what are the policies that are supposed to inspire me this time around? Because I got news for you. Most of the policies that are meant to inspire you are relatively short-term solutions to stuff because of how quickly society changes and how quickly technology is changing. But the long game stuff gets borne out in this area. And all of these problems, had we known in 2014, I think this would have affected the Clinton election, because it would have been abundantly clear how they were going for the court. But but going forward, remember this, that this strategy isn't dying now. This isn't just because they've been found out in one New York Times article doesn't mean that these people who are, ballistic missiles on a mission to destroy the rights of women and the LGBT community and poor people and anybody on the margins that they could shove out of the way, I got to say, like, that's your inspiration. I got your inspiration right here. This is the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. We'll be back right after this.